Okay, so the Eagles are putting the NFL on notice as the Birds' newest wide receiver just made a bold claim about Saquon Barkley that, if true, could make the offense absolutely unstoppable. And on top of that, he also seems extremely confident in his ability to make a big impact for the Birds this season as well. So can he actually do that? Meanwhile, AJ Brown looks more motivated than ever to come out and have a dominant season, and he just put out a message on social media that should have his opponents terrified. Plus, Fletcher Cox just officially announced his retirement in a press conference, and also, what's the latest on DeVonta Smith's pending extension? We're going to talk about that and all the other latest Eagles news, and we won't waste any time. Let's get straight into it. Alright, so let's start off this video by talking about a couple of recently retired legends, as over the weekend, former Eagle and Super Bowl champion Chris Long had future Hall of Famer and also one of the greatest defensive players of all time in Rams defensive tackle Aaron Donald on his podcast, and Chris asked Donald the question of which team did he hate playing against the most during his career, and this is what he said.
I guess I'm wondering, was there one team that always had a good plan?
Philly. I hated playing against Philly. Kelce, his little fast, always ran full. He would snap the ball and run over right now and I'm like, bro, you got some good guards. Let them work. You don't got to help them every time. I'm not letting you. We're not going to let you ruin the game. And I'm like, God, every single play, every time I played the Eagles, bro, I really never got no one-on-ones. I probably had one or two during the game, and that would be it. If you don't win any one-on-one that time, then you're done. You're going to get doubled and triple team for the rest of the game.
Now, if you don't know, in Aaron Donald's 10-year NFL career that included 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards and a Pro Bowl appearance for each of those 10 seasons, there is one team that he never got a sack against, and that is the Philadelphia Eagles. And Jason Kelce was there for the entirety of Donald's career, so he definitely deserves a ton of the credit for that. Now, that being said, Jason has said in the past that people are overreacting when they say that he and the Eagles owned Aaron Donald, because the entire game plan every time that the Eagles played the Rams was to let anybody else besides Donald beat them, which is why they would literally double and triple him every single play like Donald said. But in that clip, Aaron also made sure to give Kelce his flowers too, so it's honestly just cool to hear those two legends of the game show each other respect like that. And it was also cool to see one of those legends show up at Wrestlemania in Philly, as Jason Kelce, along with another legend in Lane Johnson, made an appearance on Saturday night at Wrestlemania 40, where they got in on the action with Jason throwing this guy around like a rag doll, and then they both revealed their identities and got the Philly crowd fired up. So overall, it was honestly just awesome to see these guys do this. I mean, Jason clearly fit right in here, and Lane's also a huge wrestling fan, so I'm sure it was an awesome experience for the both of them. And for Jason specifically, I mean, it's just cool to see him continuing to have fun in his retirement, and I honestly just can't wait to see what he does next, whether it's TV or something else. But going from one retired guy to another, let's switch our focus over to another Eagles legend in Fletcher Cox. As after retiring last month, Fletch held his official retirement press conference on Tuesday, where he thanked the city, the fans, his teammates, his family, and many others, while also explaining why he decided to retire now, and he also seemed to get a little bit emotional while doing it.
This decision was not easy, and I knew at some point in my career it was time for me to retire from the NFL. Is obviously the reason that I'm here today. It comes with a lot of emotions. This game is mentally and physically can take a toll on you, and I've enjoyed it at the highest level. I've been at the highest levels, and at that point I felt like that I've gave this game all I could give, and the game is given to me back. I've been part of the highs, I've been part of the lows in this league, and and I've enjoyed it all. So with that, today is a very special day for me. It's a very special day for my family. It's a very special day for this organization. And it's a very, very special day for the city of Philadelphia.
Once again, thank you, Fletcher Cox, for everything. You're obviously an all-time Eagles great, and just good luck in retirement. I can't wait to see what you do next. Philly is always going to love you for sure. Now, while the Eagles have sadly lost Fletch and obviously all the leadership that he brings to the locker room, at least they added a bit of leadership back this offseason in Saquon Barkley. I mean, maybe not to the extent of Fletch, obviously, but still, Barkley is definitely a guy that brings leadership ability. He's already a 5-time captain at this point in his career, even though he is just 27 years old, and Nick Sirianni even mentioned Barkley's leadership ability as something that he's excited about with his addition, as he said, quote, "I'm really excited about Saquon and the things that he can do. He's such a dynamic football player, both as a running back and also the things he can do as a pass catcher. He's going to bring an element to our offense and to our team. As much as we see him, all the highlights that we see on the tape, from my understanding and all of our homework, he's a good leader and teammate as well. To be able to add that into our locker room, and not only the playmaking ability, but the person, is really important. So hopefully Barkley can end up being one of those guys that helps fill the void of leadership left by guys like Fletch and Kelce. But at the end of the day, we know that it's going to be Saquon's impressive feats on the field that end up making the headlines, as the Pro Bowler is one of the best running backs in the league, and if you ask former Giants and now Eagles wide receiver Parris Campbell, he is the best running back in the league, as he recently told the Inquirer, quote, "I think he's going to show people why he's the best running back in the league. I know there's a bunch of debate between him and Christian McCaffrey, and don't get me wrong, Christian McCaffrey is by far one of the best running backs in the league, but being able to see Saquon up close and personal, being in the same locker room on the same team, man, he's a different guy when he's on that field, honestly, and running behind that offensive line that we have, I think that's going to be pretty scary for defenses." Now, as an Eagles fan, I can definitely admit that as of right now, there's no question that Christian McCaffrey is the better running back, but I mean, at the same time, things change fast in the NFL, and I truly do believe that moving Saquon from the Giants to now being behind that Eagles offensive line is going to take his game to the next level, so who knows, maybe Saquon does end up surpassing McCaffrey this year, although, honestly, he doesn't really need to. Like, as long as he does what he's done in New York, in Philly, they're going to be just fine and scary as ever. And Campbell also went on to mention how the combination of Saquon and also Jalen Hurts makes things even scarier for NFL defenses, saying, quote, "You pair that with Jalen and the things that he can do with his feet, just as far as extending plays, getting outside the pocket, I'm sure there'll be some type of read option game that we go on and RPO stuff that'll happen, so just the possibilities of it are endless." So I really, honestly could not agree more with Campbell there, because if all the pieces of this offense, including Saquon and Jalen, are utilized correctly, you could very well be looking at the best offense in the NFL, and that should terrify defenses heading into next season. So now it's just up to the coaching staff and Nick Sirianni and Kellen Moore and all these other guys to just look at the pieces that they have and create an offense and scheme that gets the most out of all of them. And that includes Parris Campbell himself. I mean, he is certainly an interesting new addition given the element of speed that he brings to an offense, and also his history with Nick Sirianni. And he even spoke on that during his interview with the Inquirer, as he seems confident that Nick is going to put him in positions to succeed this year, as he said, quote, "He knows how to utilize me as a player. He knows what my skills are, and then there's more people in the building too that I'm familiar with. Kevin Patullo, J. Mike, the tight ends coach. That's one thing about this league. You never want to burn bridges. You always want to make great relationships. I have great relationships with those guys. It will be fun to reconnect, but it's also welcoming and warming to feel wanted in that building." So hopefully Campbell's right in thinking that this coaching staff is going to know how to utilize his skill set correctly, because I mean, if the Eagles can get good wide receiver 3 production on top of everything else that they're expected to get, that would be amazing. And Campbell seems confident in his ability to have a bounce back season as well, as he told NFL Network that he'll take his chances on any day of the week, and he's confident in the player that he is. Plus, he also said that this scenery change from New York to Philadelphia could end up being a good thing, so hopefully all that winds up being true and Campbell can win the wide receiver 3 job and be successful in it. But what do you guys think? What are you expecting in Parris Campbell in his first year with the Birds? But now, while we're on the topic of Eagles wide receivers, let's switch over to A.J. Brown, who is ready to put the league on notice, as he dropped some videos of him working hard this offseason, and I gotta say, man, like, he looks great, he looks locked in and already ready for the season, even though it's still a long ways away, which, honestly, I mean, that's exactly the mentality you want from your leaders and star players. I mean, you want them locked in and focused and working hard and setting the example for the rest of the team, and yes, even though this is just an offseason workout video in April that I'm, of course, gonna get really, really excited about for no reason, it's just nice to see AJ putting in the necessary work and also apparently having the right mentality. Speaking of which, him and CJ Gardner-Johnson seem to be on the same page with that. It's just a little while after CJ said that he's on his Kobe mode right now with that Mamba mentality and he's going to wear number 8 this year to honor Kobe. AJ has gone ahead and changed his Twitter profile pic to a picture of Kobe while replying to a tweet of this Twitter user saying that he knows what type of timing AJ's on with that new profile pic, as AJ said, quote, "You have no idea, man, one day at a time." Man, I just got a feeling that AJ is getting ready to have his best season yet next year, and I just can't wait. And I mean, again, with him looking locked in, plus Barkley and Campbell and Jalen Hurts and DeVonta Smith and Dallas Goedert and that offensive line, and I mean, just everything about the Eagles offense, really, we very well could be looking at the best unit in the league in 2024 if the coaching staff just doesn't screw it up. So, I mean, this is going to be really interesting to watch, and I just can't wait to see how it plays out this season. And it can't come soon enough. Speaking of which, something else that can't come soon enough is DeVonta Smith's extension. I mean, like, seriously, like, when is this extension actually going to get done? I feel like heading into the offseason, we all thought that extending Smitty was going to be potentially the Birds' #1 priority, but they decided to extend some of their O-linemen first, which, I mean, you can't really argue with that, and I'm not saying I'm mad at those moves at all. I actually think they were great moves, but now, at this point, I think we can all agree that it's Devontae's turn, and it's just time for him to get this extension done. But while we wait, it's just good to think about what the numbers could potentially look like on a new Smitty contract, and Eagles writer and insider Ruben Frank gave us his thoughts on the subject by saying, quote, "You certainly wouldn't expect him to go over Brown's $25 million per year figure, but if Ridley and Pittman are worth $23 million per year, Smith is worth more. I would think 4 years, $94 million gets it done. Now, I mean, if that's accurate, I would do that in a heartbeat, but obviously it's not done yet. We still got some waiting to do, but I 100% trust Howie Roseman. I know it's only a matter of time before this move actually gets done, so I'm not worried about that at all, but I mean, can you blame me for getting just a little bit impatient at this point? And on top of that, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm also getting a little bit impatient just to see who the Eagles will officially play in week 1 in Brazil, as a few weeks back, it seemed like everything was pointing to it being the Cleveland Browns, with one of their players saying that they would be playing in Brazil this season during an interview, causing everyone, including myself, to believe that it would be Philly versus Cleveland week 1. But the other team that is kind of hung around there in the rumors is the Green Bay Packers, and now it looks like that initial speculation of it being Cleveland could turn out to be wrong, with Packers reporter Rob Demovsky commenting after the Packers president spoke on Tuesday morning, saying, quote, "Based on Packers president Mark Murphy's comments this morning, it sounds like they're preparing to open the season in Brazil against the Eagles." So that's definitely interesting. I mean, I think the Eagles versus Packers in a week 1 game in Brazil on Friday night would be super fun to watch. I mean, both of them are very good teams in the NFC that are going to have high expectations next year, so it'll definitely be interesting if that does end up happening. However, it's not confirmed at this point, and it still very well could be Cleveland, so I don't know. I'll leave it at that. We'll really only know when they do officially announce it, but I mean, what are your guys' thoughts? What matchup would you prefer in week 1, Cleveland or Green Bay? Well, when that news does drop, I'm going to make sure to cover it here on this channel, just as well as all the other Eagles news coming up this offseason. So if you don't want to miss any of that, make sure you subscribe, and also really importantly, turn on notifications so you're instantly notified when any of these videos are uploaded. And also, while you're at it, make sure you drop a like to show some support, and leave a comment down below just regarding anything that I talked about in this video. And if you want to watch another video going over some kind of, unlikely trade scenarios for the Eagles, but ones that have been rumored in recent days, you can check this out right here. Now, with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys. So thank y'all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.